All right, everybody, welcome to a very exciting edition of People's Populist Press. We have a really exciting guest here in studio today, a very controversial guest. A lot of people have a lot of different things that they think about Andy Warski. Andy Warski in studio here, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing today, Andy?
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's good to have you, man. We've had you here around like the last 4 days, you know what I mean? We've been chilling, we've been hanging out, we've been making videos and stuff like this, collaborating. How have you been finding it at the place, Andy?
It's been excellent. Honestly, guys, these guys, it feels like I'm in one long PPP video. You know, you hit play and it's 3 days, 4 days, non-stop, and it's great. Like, honestly, and we've been getting lit. My voice is pretty hoarse right now, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, but it's been fun. Yeah, so just in case my voice is strained, it's been a lot of shouting for 4 days.
Been producing a lot of different videos and things like that. So I just want to get into this interview, Andy. We're kind of, for those of the audience, we're going to kind of walk through all of Andy's kind of career and life. We're going to get in depth. This is going to be a no-holds-barred interview. We're going to get into a lot of uncomfortable subjects for Andy. So everybody just be patient with him. He's promised to be as truthful as he possibly can be. So I wanted to start off, Andy. One of the first things people will notice about you is your stutter. And this is something that you've worked through your whole life. You've been working on. I had watched a video from years and years ago where you had stated that the stutter was the result of abuse at the hands of a babysitter. And there's been a lot of speculation about that. So I just wanted to give you the floor now to kind of address that and let everybody know what happened with the babysitter, how you got the stutter, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I was probably 4 years old when I had this particular babysitter. You know, every babysitter I had at that point was nice, whatever. But this one in particular, whenever, like, it was just constant abuse. My older sister and I would always go to see her. And to my sister, she was fine. To me, she would, like, fucking lock me in dark closets, like, smack me around. She would lock me outside on the balcony. I remember one time she had scraped on the top of my hand under a door, like slamming doors behind me and shit, throwing shit at me. Like, seriously, just getting all her hatred. Mm-hmm. Because her husband ended up being a homosexual later. Like, even he switched teams.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, so she's probably getting all her fucking, like, hatred out on me, right? As a man or whatever. I don't know. And then, so I had her for a while, and I never told my parents anything. Mm-hmm. And my sister would say some things, but it was very, like, you know, they weren't in the know. Like, if they knew, it'd be fucked. And one day, we were eating, like, eggs and hot dogs or some shit, and I was talking, and she burned, like, the side of my face with a frying pan.
Okay, because that's what I was curious about, because I had heard the story that she had hit you with the frying pan, and in the video I saw, the depiction of it was like that, it was on the heater. So she took the frying pan off the heater.
Off the heater.
And held it to your face and burned you.
It had hot dogs in it.
It had hot dogs.
Like, it was still sizzling. I remember feeling the oil, like, you know? And people always joke and say it's like, oh, did she swing and, like, slam you? Mm-hmm. No, it was more like a placing of the, you know what I mean? Like,
but it was burning hot.
Like a branding type thing, yeah.
It was like a branding.
So my parents saw that. And
they saw that.
And that was the crux of, like, what the fuck is happening over there?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first, and then I forgot what I said. My parents, like pulled me out of there immediately.
Because, so before that incident, you didn't have a stutter. Your vocal development was normal for your age?
No, I think during that time at school, I was going to, like, speech pathology because my stutter was getting worse, like, during this abuse, right? Because it was like a constant abuse. There was no, like, it turned on. Mm-hmm. Like, stutter is more of a degradation of your whatever that part of your brain.
It begins to degrade over that time.
Through anxiety and all that stuff. Like, when you could control your anxiety and your, like, and your speech patterns and but, like, stutterers, a lot of them just, like, talk too fast and have high anxiety. right? Because you're overthinking it.
Yeah.
But it is due to trauma, like a psychologist or whatever thought it was through trauma or whatever, because it added up.
Okay, so you're saying you already kind of had aspects of a stutter or a delay in the vocals, and then the babysitter abuse made it worse.
I don't even remember, to be honest.
You're not sure? Your parents aren't sure? Because I remember in the video that I watched from back then, you said something to the effect of you didn't realize about this abuse until you were in high school.
Yeah, it's when I had my speech pathologist in high school. So when we examined my history, right, she was trying to find the origin of it. Mm-hmm. So she was awesome, by the way. Like, straight up, I used to, like, if I were to read anything, it'd be stutter on every word. Like, this woman, like, saved me. But anyway, she, we ended up, like, finding out, like, through, like, the history. She's like, yeah, this is a thing that happens. A trauma will affect this part of the brain, which will add a stutter. And then you being embarrassed by it just increases it. It's just, like, a never exponentially, like, stuttering sucks. Like, it really is fucking insane. Because you think about it, oh, you can't talk, it's a joke, it's a meme. But the person has to live with, like, looking like a retard all the time. Like, people thought in high school, okay, whatever, I'm going to say this, it'll be, like, memes. But people thought, like, for the first year and a half, like, I was, like, actually retarded. Like,
really?
one guy in school, he's like, you know, when I started being funny and joking around, he found out about the stutter. He's like, oh, you're funny. But I used to do, like, all these fucked up, like, jackass-style, like, pranks.
Right on.
Like, I would just take off my clothes in high school, and it's, like, snowing outside, and just do snow angels in the snow in front of everyone. They have no idea who I am, and then I'm just, like, stuttering. They think I'm, like, a fucking retard, like, you know, off the leash, running around. He's like, Andy, I don't want to be, like, a dick or anything, but I thought you were, like, Down syndromic type. You're part of, like, the PIP class, you know, like, the PIP, which is, like,
the special class or whatever, right?
And I was like, whoa, buddy.
Okay, so you didn't really remember this stuff too clearly until it was brought up with the speech therapist and that sort of thing, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that pretty much clears it up for people as to what happened there with the stutter. A lot of people, and you've been telling pretty much the same story about it for years and years now. So I'll move on to something else. So you go through and you have this stutter, you have delays in your speech development or degradation in your speech development. So it's interesting that you ended up going into comedy, right? You end up going into stand-up comedy. What was the reasoning behind that? What were you looking? Were you looking to expand your skills, or what were you looking to do with that? Because it's interesting.
I remember it was painful. Having a stutter and everyone making fun of you was crazy, right? It really wears on your psyche. But I really enjoyed making people laugh. Like, I enjoyed making, and I was filming jackass stunts. And I would film them on VHS tapes. And the reason is, it's because it's funny and I don't have to talk. It's just me, like, dude, I used to do crazy shit. Like fucking go in a garbage can. Like, take out the fucking, like, the bag and head inside and down, like, dangerous hills in Mississauga. It was called Devil's Hill. One of the falls, it ended up fucking smashing into a tree, into a ditch. But the metal had fucking bent from hitting the tree, and I was trapped in there for, like, 45 minutes, and they're filming me laughing. Like, it was shit like that. And we would, like, head down, like, GTs, you know, like the sleds, and, like naked or, like, in boxers, and then throwing, like a Christmas trees on people as they head off a ramp. It was, like, videos, like, hours and hours of content. In fact, I think I have one of the VHSs. If you want Kino, bro, me just being a retard in the streets. Like pulling crimes, basically. You know, nothing crazy, but you know what I mean. Just being a fucking jackass. And then these VHSs were being passed around. They were being passed around the school. So I was known, like, before YouTube was even a thing, it was like, oh, yo, it's Andy. Like, everyone watched all the VHSs. Like, hundreds of passes on the same 4 episodes. And it was, like, marker, like, crude. Yeah. And it was, like, an honor system. People actually returned it, like, groups of people. So I was known. And I did skits, actually, in the school, too. Like, I had this character called Sanchez, where I was like a Mexican, and it was like a racist, like, but I would interview teachers and shit and film it and release it around, and I was known for this, like, I was actually voted, like, most likely to be on SNL type thing in my graduation.
But it's interesting, right? You're talking to the teachers, you know, you're doing this racist character. You know, today that really wouldn't fly.
No, dude, like, the shit I got away with, and sexist, hardcore. And then I was really into stand-up. I like Dave Chappelle at the time. Like, For What It's Worth was the special. I was high as fuck drinking. And I'm like, I want to do stand-up. So what I thought in my head is, like, I still had a stutter, but I was doing speech pathology during third period on Fridays, every day, in grade 10 and 11 and 12, right? So fucking, at grade 11, I was like, I don't stutter as much as I used to. Before it was every word. Now it's like, so I'll go onto stage and make fun of my stutter, because it's funny. So I'd go up there, and I killed for my first few months. There were some duds here and there, but like for like an intro stand-up, it was good. Mm-hmm. And I was doing it all the fucking time. Like, stand-up was great. But the money is like, you're doing it for drink tickets. I did one, like, the biggest special I ever did was called The Truth Really Hurts.
Okay.
I did it in the University of Toronto. I straight up have, like, after my channel was erased, I lost a bunch of footage that was there. Dude, my heart, you know, I lost that stand-up, but I did like a 45-minute special that was like, it was like, the jokes were intense. But people laughed, and it was like a special, like, it was great. But then YouTube crept in. That's when I started doing YouTube.
Because I was going to ask you next, like, when did you decide? So how long were you doing the stand-up for to begin with?
I did it for 10 years in total.
10 years?
Never like professionally. Like never like, you know.
You made your living from it, right?
It was sort of like, every week head out there, and I'd try to do 2 or 3 clubs a week. And then I've some months break and stuff in between these periods of doing this. But what I would do is, I started on YouTube. This is during like the old school era, right? I would make videos that were like rants. And I would sneak in stand-up jokes into those rants. And then anything that the commenters on the YouTube videos liked would be in the set.
Next routine.
Right? That's what I did there. And it was great. Like, there were some great moments. The highs are high in stand-up.
Yeah.
The lows. When there's a room full of people who hate you. On YouTube, it's one thing.
Well, do you remember any sort of story where you were doing stand-up and you got a negative reaction? Did you ever get a bottle thrown at your head or somebody attack you or anything like that?
There's one moment where, okay, I'm trashed. And I, like, walk on stage with just new material, which you never do. You always sneak in the jokes, you know, that will work. And then you introduce new material, and if it's good, next time you bring it in all the time. I went in there just to be as sexist as humanly possible. Like, I was like, the jokes, and I was trashed on Zambuca, and I was saying things like women are fucking useless. I'm like you're good for nothing, and they're all like it was not even a punchline. And I remember being like, oh wait, women, there is one good thing you're good at. And I just turn around and like pretend to suck my own dick. And women are like, what the fuck? Fuck you. Like, they were going nuts. And I'm just taking shots. Like, I had like a few shots on the stool, and I'm drinking beer. And I'm just laughing, pointing, like, get in the kid. Like, it was just the most generic, offensive, like sexist shit. And women were about to like fucking go on stage. Like, I was like, I had to leave early. Like, it was a bad one, dude.
Okay.
I had 2 friends with me. They're like, we have to get the fuck out of here. No, dude, we're not sticking around. We're gonna get like.
So we get into now. You're making YouTube videos, and a lot of people, you know, want to know a bit more about the early days of your channel because a lot of the material is gone. What sort of material were you making in those early years before everything kind of blew up and you became known for the SJW videos and things like this?
Yeah.
What was the channel like before then? Were you trying out different styles or what was going on?
Yeah, so we did like a lot of skits and comedy and all that stuff, and it was like rants or whatever. So it would be like on today's episode, long lines, taxis, and whatever. And it's like sort of, I watched a lot of Adam Carolla. And I really liked his like rant on anything type idea. Mm-hmm. So I sort of like had that, and I was good at ranting. I still am, I think. So it'd be like just like almost like a skit monologue type thing. But I really prided myself on doing them all in one take. Like I was like, you know, if I ever fucked up a take, I'd be like 6.5 minutes in, start it over. Like, and I would have the point form of all the jokes or the ideas. And I would do it, and I would do it like for like 4 hours until like the 9 minutes. So if you saw one take, you could be like, "Oh, that was pretty lazy of him." No. That's me redoing it. It was like stand-up, right? And then I did the easier, like reactionary to prank channels. I watched H3, and I saw the whole prank invasion thing. It's the guy who kisses like random chicks on the street, and it's fake. So I make videos like shitting on those, like just me watching it. And that's where I sort of got like that live aspect, right?
Right.
Then me and Chris one day during this whole time, so this is 2015, all right?
Right.
So I'm doing this for like years and years. It's just random skits, random shit. Then one day, fucking Trump. Oh, no, sorry, before that. Black Lives Matter. I wasn't a political dude at all, like at all. When Black Lives Matter started pulling their nonsense, I went like actually like, you know, some people grift and they just keep fucking like belting at it.
Yeah.
Or people were sort of like just joining in to get the views. I was like, we need to stop these people. This needs to stop. I remember even Chris being like, Chris Warski used to work with me, him trying to like move like aside from that topic sometimes. And I'd be like, no, look what they did. Like, fuck the, like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That was like the political angle. And then when Trump won, that stamped my channel's like fate. The seal, because he won, we made a video and we got like 700,000 views in 2 days. Blew the fuck up. Money, views. Like, it has to be politics now, right? And then I got into politics. I really did. And I am passionate about it.
Because before then, like going through high school, you know, even college, that sort of thing, you were never political. You were never really into politics in a serious way.
Zero. In
Zero
fact,
interest.
In college, I went to college. One of my like tries at college was journalism. Mm-hmm. I went up in St. Catharines, right? So I'm doing it at Niagara College, and I remember being at like a political class. I didn't even know what liberal and conservative was. No difference, like no understanding. It was just like George Bush conservative. Like it was like the most like simple, basic like knowledge of it, and I didn't care at that time at all. And now the reason I got more serious about it, and this will go into like the whole JF show and the Warski Live.
We're gonna bring into that in a minute, but
I actually, when I started hearing this stuff, like the anti-SJW stuff got tiresome after a while. But like the political portion of it, like it's really impacting our world right now. Mm. And I remember actually feeling like this is fucking crazy. This is nuts. Like shit's not going well. Like the world is not working. And that's when, you know, I don't know where you want me to go on this one because this is like the Warski Live era, you know?
Yeah, so I'll bring it back towards kind of the beginning because I just wanted to, you know, touch on this early era just a little bit more. We did already kind of a stream on Dark Fist, but I wanted to ask you, you know, were you proud of that movie? Were you proud of Dark Fist and the work you put in on it?
I love that. Like, honestly, making a movie was always, like, on the bucket list. And I really thought I could do it. And I did it with Dark Fist. Like, we watched it. It's funny. It's campy, right?
Yeah.
The next movie was, like, seriously, I know we watched the trailer. Like, you found it. But it's been, like, destroyed. Like, the fucking footage
the Mr.
is missing. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, because you asked me to bring this up. You said to ask you about Theo.
We got this actor from New York, right? He's huge. Like, he was a fucking, like, a tank from fucking... amazing actor. But the most oddest interactions with this guy, okay? So, one day, like, I'm walking in the backyard. Everyone's like smoking in the back or whatever, chilling, eating some food. And one day, he's just telling everyone. He's like, "Oh, you ever come on a cat before? You ever come like?" And everyone was like just sick. And he's like, "What? You haven't?" Like, he's like angry, and he's like a little bit buzzed. I think like he was on something. But like, I remember being like, "What the fuck?" He ends up staying at my house, right? Because I fly him in, and it's at my parents' house because I already paid him like $2,000 to be in the movie. He ends up like not showering for 4 days. He comes in while we're all smoking ciggies in the garage. He's like, "Yo, where's the shower, dude?" I'm like, "You know where it is." He's like, "No." I'm like, and everyone's like, "It's been 4 days. Like, what the fuck?" He comes out of the shower. He's got the shower handle, like the fucking like the water in his hand. And the towel rack, like, he came out like, "Yo, Andy, what do I do?" And the fucking shower's running. We had to, like, my mom had to take a wrench and, like turn it off. But he was a hard actor to work with. But he was, like, brilliant. Like, it was almost, like, worth it. Then the movie was, like, everyone just fought and stuff. There was so much drama and all this shit behind it. So I stopped making movies because it's a lot of work. It's too hard. It's too hard.
A lot of people really liked the performance of the Smile character, the actor who plays him in the film, Mike. Did Mike ever end up doing any sort of acting after that, or was that kind of it for Mike?
Well, he was in Mr. M as well, and he was like a great character there as well. And I know he was writing scripts and stuff. He's doing something else now, but he is writing. Like, he's a good writer. He's written some fucking scripts that are fucking, like, brilliant.
Really?
That I would never, like, talk about the idea because they are, like, crazy. He's a smart dude. Great guy. Like I would say one of the most creative people I've ever worked with. Mm-hmm. Like, his script writing and his skills. He wrote half of Dark Fist.
Really?
So I wrote Dark Fist. I wrote the whole movie. And he added more of, like, the serious moments in the script that we watched. Mm-hmm. I was a lot of the funny parts and, like, the development of the story. And Smile, in the original script, had no lines.
Really? So he put those in?
Or
was it improv? What was it?
He put them in. He's like, "No, if I'm going to play this character, I want to have more lines." So he put in some lines. I was thinking more like a brute thug. Like, you saw the character?
Yeah.
It's like a brute fucking, like, you know, almost like a pet. But he became the fucking main villain. Like,
yeah.
But he fucking was so brilliant. I remember that part in the movie where he does, like, this whole monologue about, like, putting, like a hook in someone's brain and dragging them around and how, like, they won't die, but they'll feel every inch of pain.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he puts a cigarette out on his tongue. Like, that was just hit record and film the dude.
And he just went.
It's so good. It's so good.
A lot of people, including myself, were very impressed by it because when you compare it to other amateur productions of the time, Doug Walker's movies or James Rolfe or any of those internet guys' movies at the time, the production value was way higher on way less of a budget with better acting. And so I was quite impressed. And, you know, I just wanted to ask two more questions on this. How involved was Chris Warski with the script?
Nah, he not at all with the script. But Chris Warski was great at, like, the production. So, like, we need this, and this. He's, like, setting it up, you know what I mean? He's already texting people. He's figuring it out. He's emailing. He was, like, you know, like pure producer, I would say, like awesome. As for the creative portion, almost nil. Like, he liked my ideas. He liked Mike's ideas, too. And he was just down for whatever. But as for the analytical part of it, he was fucking brilliant. Like, seriously? Good dude, yeah.
I'm going to ask you this, because you've told me that nearly everybody involved in the production of Dark Fist has disavowed the movie.
Yeah.
Do you think
how do you disavow Dark Fist,
well, that's
you
what
know?
I was going to ask you. Do you think it's fair that they've disavowed this movie?
Yeah, this is some sort... Yeah, I don't think it's fair because, you know, at the time, that's the comedy. And they have disavowed the slurs and the, you know, the edgy humor or whatever. And I still do edgy humor, so they could disavow and go, at the time, they were making up all these fucking, you know, they were saying it. They loved it. They thought it was the funniest shit ever. And them turning around, you know what type of movie we were making. Mm-hmm. And it's those, you know, that time's comedy was there.
Yeah.
And I still think it's funny. For me, it's like, I'm cool with it.
It was like a more crass, crude kind of, you know, like it's a guy movie, you know, a guy comedy movie, you know, sort of thing. Seems to have gone out of fashion today, you know. But it was always kind of your core personality, the way you were. You wanted to be making funny, comedic stuff. You know what I mean? You were never about, I want to be a prime minister. I want to be a member of parliament. I want to be a hard-hitting investigative journalist. That wasn't the Andy Warski dream, right?
No, I wanted to make, like, good videos, like good entertaining stuff that I can go back and watch it myself and be proud of. The anti-SJW content really like drained my energy though, I won't lie.
Yeah.
It was really draining. And it was so boring and the, you know, I don't know. Like even if the views were amazing, it would still be like okay. What am I going to look forward to shit on right now, you know?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, what part of your YouTube career do you consider to be the most successful?
I would say when I was doing the anti-SJW videos right before they came out of style or out of fashion.
That was the biggest commercial success.
Like 200,000 views per video in like within a few days. Like that type of stuff, and it was really good. I would say though the Warski live days were really fun.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask because that was the follow up. What was the most fun time?
Okay, we're talking about the Warski live. Like
well, during your entire YouTube career, what was the most fun time? What was the most fun era where you were the happiest? You were really enjoying yourself. You know.
You know the expose of Kilroy.
Yep.
The Krautfall, the JF entering, the Jeff Holiday. Those streams, and Medicare was there. I was on Kumite every morning. It was like hopping at that time. Like, those days were really fucking fun.
Those were the most
They were like those, wake up ready for Kumite, like pumped. Like, all right, JF, let's do a stream. It's just like this blood sports. Mm-hmm. It's where I met Ralph too, right? And like it was such a good time. It's a shame that you know I started doing drugs because it was fun at first and it helped me. It did doing coke, right?
Right.
Because you're staying up and you could do all these long shows, and you know during that era is when I started really doing it. And it's a shame I got into that because like. You know, I don't regret too much, but I do regret, like, if I wasn't fucked up and, like, a spurg and a crazy asshole, like, what could have I done after, like, the Warski live days if I wasn't just out of my head?
You know?
The IRL stuff was not a good transition. Mm-hmm. Like, that stuff was definitely, like, compared to anything I had done. But I also lost my creative streak at that time, too. When I made it back, I tried a few comebacks, right? And it was just like the energy wasn't there. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Everything was just like, there was no direction. There was nothing. And I kept like returning, doing something, and then quitting.
So,
like, I had like 5.
Yeah, before we get into all that, because we have lots of time to go over all that stuff.
For sure.
Let's wrap up kind of with Chris and this era. So we have a few questions that people have submitted about the era with Chris Warski. How did you first meet and partner with Chris? How did that come to be?
It was like a friend of a friend type thing, hang out, smoke some joints and shit.
Like from real life, he wasn't like internet guy or anything.
IRL.
Yeah.
Cool dude. And then we hung out. And then I guess he was telling me, I remember one day we'd always like meet at this spot and smoke with a bunch of us, right? And one day he's telling me about this like skit idea he had. And I was like, I have a YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. So he went out and checked it, right, before we had phones to do that shit. And he's like, oh, yeah, we should work on some stuff. So we just started on, like, one skit between all my videos. I would do like 20 videos, 20 rant videos, and one would be with Chris. And these are skits I wish that were still online. Like, dude, fuck, it upsets me. But we did like Asian Friends.
Asian Friends
was the first skit that we did that like blew up. I think it was one of the first things we did. It was called Asian Friends. If someone finds it, like, Kino as fuck. So, and it was like all the racial humor and all that stuff. It was actually a really funny skit. And we did that. And then we ended up moving in together after a few skits and all this stuff, right? And that was during the BLM era. And he had a good DSLR camera or whatever. So I was like, look, if you help me produce these, I'll split the money with you.
Right on.
And I did, right? So he would film them and shit. So, yeah. And then we started the Warski Live before the known Warski Live.
Yes.
We did 120 episodes.
Wow.
2 or 3 a week. And we'd have on a new anti-SJW on every show.
And so that's kind of how you started networking, because you see those charts, you know, linking the alt-right together or whatever. You would always be at, like, the middle of them, like the Skeptic or alt-right.
I was the biggest
You would
ball.
be, like, the big hub, right? So even back then, you were networking in that way, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to ask you, because, you know, a lot of people have their own ideas about this already, but we want to give you the opportunity. Tell us what really happened in the breakup with Chris. Why did it go south? What happened?
So he was fixing his like house or something, like you know, like helping out, and so he was helping out with that, like a renovation type thing. So he's like, I'll be busy for a few months. I'm like, okay, whatever, like that's cool. So during that time is when the Kilroy stuff started. Okay? But then Chris wasn't like helping out for like, it was like 6 months. It was almost a year. And I already had been doing Warski Live at this time. I was doing all this other stuff. Like, I've moved on, right? Because it was like a year. What am I going to do? Sit here for a year not doing anything while you're doing the house and you're making money off of it? Like, sorry, bud. And so it was almost like he was out. But like there was no quitting or anything. It was like one day, hey, I'm going to be taking a break. Cool. I'll be doing a show here.
Yeah.
And he did take offense at the content. You know, like I remember us having a fight of him going, you ruined it. You know, you like joined like those guys and it's like all this right-wing stuff and it's fucked. It fucked the channel. I remember having that fight. He did yell about that. But it was like, fuck you. I mean, you're gone. I've already evolved. Like, I'm not waiting here for you. Like, it was sort of like that type of like arrangement, you know? And, but it turns out, like, after, like, a year, and I had texts. I remember doing a stream, and I showed the texts on stream, like, I was scrolling through them. But he had his car payments attached to the, what's it called? The business account.
Oh.
So, like, his car payments are coming out. I'm pretty sure he had insurance. It ended up being $5,000.
$5,000.
So it was like 5 G's. It's like I'm working my ass off, like doing shows and shit, like trying to keep it going, like trying anything, you know. And he's doing his own thing, and he's taking money from me. Mm-hmm. So I remember being like, "Dude, that's fucked up. Like you have to pay me back. Like sorry, like I don't care." And he's like, it was almost like an entitlement for him. Like, oh, I helped you until this point, so I deserve this. It's like,
was he paid before then?
Yeah, of course. But it's split. Like, every time we had a YouTube check from our stuff, it was a split. It was when he was gone, no offense, now all this money that I'm making is from what I'm working on. And it's like, you could help me. Like, I wanted him to help me. I didn't want it to end. It was just him gone for a year. And I guess when he phoned me during the $5,000 discussion, that's when he was like, you ruined this channel. Like this right-wing Nazi shit. Like, you fucked it. It's your fault. It's your fault.
Now,
your fault. Like, he went nuts.
Right-wing Nazi stuff. So, I'm just trying to take it back. So, when he says, like, I'm going to go work on the house, do you think he was really about working on the house? Or was it more so even at that time he was upset with the direction you were taking, a more political direction?
I genuinely think that he was working on the house. Like, because I would go by every now and then, you know. I was trying to keep it, you know, I'd see him every now and then. Him and his girlfriend would stop by. But I do think the reason he took the break was that was the time where the anti-SJW stuff, like...
It was oversaturated.
It was oversaturated. The well was dry.
Yeah.
It was boring as fuck to do every video. No matter how easy the edits were, it's just like this, like, oh my God, you know, like, it's like, whatever, you know. So talking about it on the show is one thing.
Yeah.
But editing it back and forth, it's like this, like, it is tiring.
So let's ask this.
So I think that's what he left.
When was the first time he brought up to you, I think you're going in all, like, too far right. I think you're going to the dark side. You've gone to, like, did he bring this up continually, or did it just came out of the blue?
It was that
over
was
the $5,000. He never mentioned it before the $5,000.
The $5,000 was the crux of, like, opening up this argument, and he admitted, like, he goes, "Yeah, okay, I did take the money." Oh my God, you know what he says? He goes, like you took the money, like you didn't even work for it. He goes, but you had to learn. Like, that was like...
What did he mean by that?
I don't know, like, maybe I wasn't aware of the business account as much as possible, so he was, like, seeping money so I could learn a lesson.
Teaching you a lesson not to trust people?
Wasn't
he supposed to be your very good friend?
He tried exposing me on, like, a stream, and that's why I did a stream where I showed the text messages and everything, and then he shut up for, like a year or 2 years.
But you're saying, like, during this whole time... Up until the public dispute and breakup and all that, he had no issues with the association with JF. He never mentioned this.
No, in fact, we had a phone call in these months where he was like, you know, like, oh, you're doing so well, like, so many viewers. Mm-hmm. Like, he was, like, pumped. I'm like, well, we're making, like, some good donations to, like, It's Alive. He was like, yeah, cool. It was when the JF stuff split up and it didn't work out, is when he's like, oh, you know, like, it's so racist. If the channel had been doing still well, he would never have been angry. Guarantee you.
Because how political was he? Was he ever a very political guy, or was he just kind of like you, where he wanted to just do comedy and stuff like this?
Well, yeah, I would say that. Like, he did share the thoughts on the anti-SJWs. Mm-hmm. However, he was more like a libertarian. Yeah. So we tried making a comeback. I don't know if you remember this, where we had him, like, trapped in a fridge.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And then he walks into the room, and the joke was what we've been talking about for this year. My dual had the Nazi flag on it.
Oh.
And then I'm like, oh, look at the studio here. I'm like, yeah, keep looking there. And I'm changing the background. You know, it was like a joke. Like,
yeah.
But
he didn't have an issue with that, invoking the Nazi imagery. He didn't.
No, he thought it's
he
funny.
He didn't say this is too far or anything like that.
He knew
because
the joke.
A lot of people, the way they look at Chris is they look at him as this moderate, normal influence. Your in real life friend. He would have tried to pull you back from the alt-right, but you were seduced away from it, and you betrayed him by going in that direction. But what you're saying is he was never really making any sort of effort to pull you back from that until it was an issue of money, and then it was to make you look bad regarding your politics.
Probably. I mean, the series of events that happened with him, like, are so extreme that it's hard to even place what happened. You know? And it's like, okay, if you want to move on, but don't cry like a bitch on the phone to me and say I'm a piece of shit when you've been stealing money from me.
Did he ever pay you back the $5,000? Yes. He did pay you.
Him and his father was like a witness to him handing me a check. And I brought the check to the fucking bank and I got it back. Okay. So he paid me back the $5,000. Yeah.
Okay, but was it a big battle to get it done, to get the money, or was it was just kind of a misunderstanding, or was he actually intending to steal from you? What do you think?
Well, it might have been, maybe it was just like a little bit of misunderstanding and entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
But when I brought it up, instead of being like, okay, that's right, I'm sorry, I didn't take my car off the fucking business account or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
It was, I was trying to teach you a lesson. So it's like, he knows I'm in the right because he paid me the $5,000. He knows I'm in the right. But he has to make a big deal about it and make it a big, like, holy shit. And he'll come out and he tried lying about the story. Thank God I had those text messages. It's like, just move on, buddy.
So from that time on, was he your friend anymore?
No.
No.
Now that was for sure I've seen, like, you know, the group of friends that we share. I saw him a few times and we never talked. We never interacted. We were at like a friend's house and he's there. We nodded at each other. I think we shook each other's hand. I walked up and I'm just like nod, shake hand.
You guys,
and then you move on and sort of like.
You guys were friends for how many years?
Almost a decade.
Almost a decade that you guys.
It's a shame.
Friends. And you guys haven't spoken a long time, I imagine.
Never, not at all. Except for that nod at our friend's house, at our mutual friend's house. It was just like a, you know.
You know where he's at now? What he's doing?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. I don't follow.
One more question people wanted to know. Was it true that you wouldn't give Chris his glasses back?
Glasses back?
That you had stolen his glasses and you wouldn't give them back?
I don't remember that, no.
You don't remember it at all?
His glasses?
Yeah, it's like a big drama about that you stole his glasses or whatever.
I remember him losing glasses. Maybe he was accusing me of stealing glasses, but I didn't steal. That's retarded. Why would I?
You don't even
pick it up. I don't give a fuck. That's not funny. That's not like worth anything to me. Like, I don't even remember what this is.
Okay.
Maybe he lost some and think I stole them. There is something I remember with the glasses. But I didn't steal glasses because that's fucked up. That's kind of insane, you know?
I'm not super familiar with that myself.
I don't know.
But it was a fan-submitted question about the glasses.
There was something with the glasses. I think he lost glasses and he was trying to call me out on it. And I'm like, why the fuck would I steal your glasses? Like, come pick them up if they're here. I remember saying, come, like, search the whole house. You have full access to the house. You could look under every bed. You could look behind everything. Why would I steal your glasses? That's kind of nuts. Like, that accusation is fucking gay.
So let's move on to Jean-Francois Garepi. Why did you make JF a co-host? What was the reasoning? Why you made him the co-host of Warski Live?
You know, I thought at this point is when the politics started, like, you know, okay, the Kilroy thing, they were shitting on the alt-right people. Now, this is how I talked to Baked Alaska first, was he was kicked out of Kilroy to be a speaker. It was like a convention where you speak. So I had him on my show, and I went, if we're doing a free speech convention, like, and you're banning people from talking, that's kind of insane. Yeah. But this is where it's almost like blackpilled me into like a, fuck this is ridiculous. And then I find out, and this is more of a selfish reason, I find out everyone's being paid hotel and flights and shit. And I'm not. I'm like, bro. And I was like the biggest person who's going to be there. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, I think it was, remember, what's her name? Big Tits?
Oh, what was her name? Mama?
Based Mama?
Based Mama.
Based Mama. Oh, you know, Andy, you should have just asked us. I'm like, I was just trusting that you were like
the biggest scam of all time, wasn't it, Kilroy?
It was Monday night out there fucking reading.
It was just Jarbo at like empty tables. There was nobody there but fucking Matt Jarbo. Oh shit.
That was a funny clip.
What a disaster, you know?
So that was the what the fuck? Like, yo, and then JF was there for those streams. And we just got along. So I'm getting interested in the politics, in the right-wing politics, like the right-wing politics. Just interested. If you don't want to have a discussion, and I was so for free speech that it's like, no, the fact that you're banning all these people, now I want to talk to them. Like, if we're for free speech, you pick one, pick a lane. So I bring in JF, and JF was just so knowledgeable about all this right-wing stuff that it was just natural for him to be co-host during my discovery period.
But when you guys first met up, you had a natural chemistry.
Mm.
You did, eh?
He was. I mean, we had some funny moments, like some good streams. Like he was cool. Like it's a shame what happened. It really is.
Yeah,
it's a shame. I wish we had ended. At least be like, okay, we've done our part.
Yeah. Well, I'd ask you this: do you think it was successful? Was it a successful partnership?
It was successful. It was. I think he would say that too. The downfall was, so during this time I'm doing drugs still, right? Getting a little loopy. I also enjoy the fun streams. So Kumite is more in my wheelhouse. But I enjoy doing the streams with JF. But then he would always try to undermine me.
Yeah.
Famous stop with your low IQ interventions.
Yeah, did it bother you? He was saying you're an idiot and low IQ. Was it bothering you?
Because he would do it minimally, and I would make fun of him too about being pretentious or French or some shit. It was fine, but then it became a bit too much, and then he started interrupting me a lot, and then I would have an idea for a guest of a show, and then he's like, "No, he's not going to be on here." He did not want Ralph on.
Really?
He was not a Ralph. Yeah, in fact, he kicked Ralph off.
What was the reason he gave?
We're looking for high intellect shows, and we're going to look for people for debates and stuff. He's just your friend, Don't be on Kumite because it's just silly. It's like the trash. I get it if what you're doing is more high intellect, of course, sure, because it is. But people enjoy the fucking the scummy, edgy shows too.
Did he recognize that as well? Did he?
I don't think he did.
No way.
I think he was really just how could anyone watch these shows? I don't know. It's just a show you put on in the background while you're playing video games. What do you want, JF? This is not a fucking school. So I ended up remember being if he ever fucking interrupts me, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna say something. I was on a phone call with Tonka, Geek Thulu, Failure, maybe somebody else. But I remember Tonka. I remember we ended up exposing Tonka for this. Tonka was tell JF, fuck him, and all this shit. But the way Tonka convinced it, he was right. Tonka was right in this moment, 100%. He's stand up for yourself. I'm I respect that, right? So in that show, he said something demeaning, and I went, you know what, JF, enough, buddy, enough. Mm-hmm. And he's okay, you know what? I quit. He quit before I could fire him.
Wow.
He quit, just for me questioning what he was doing. And it was fuck off, buddy.
So would you say that it was the undermining, the comments on the air and things like that were the main reason behind the breakup?
Yes.
Or was it more Tonka was in your ear and
no,
other people were in your ear?
The Tonka thing was you know what? I've been feeling this for 6 months. Yes. Because it was just too much. Mm-hmm. And Tonka was well, if you feel like that, man, just tell him to go fucking eat it. And then I didn't even go that far. Mm-hmm. I just said, man, I was trying, I fucking sugarcoated it and, peppered it. I wasn't trying to end the show.
Yeah.
I was just maybe I could say something that will make him realize this is too far. Mm-hmm. Just fucking disrespect. And, okay, I quit, you know what? And then he moved on and did his own thing.
Looking back on it, hindsight being 2020, do you think if you had managed to swallow your pride on it, that things would have worked out better in the end? If you and JF had kept working together, or was it destined to fail?
The show was spiraling already.
It was destined to fail, you're saying?
You know what? People do say it's the biggest thing I ever done or whatever. Yeah, there was 10 streams that were 10,000 watching and legendary views. The majority of the views were 300-400 of the regular show or whatever. It was only when we had a special guest on. Mm-hmm. So it's not it was this fucking beast of a show. There was just beast episodes within there. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, if me and him couldn't do a show with just me and him and not anyone else, and it just won't work out, it was destined to fail from the beginning.
Yeah.
And when we stopped doing debates, because people got scared. It was hard to get people after a while to do blood sports because they're they've seen the show. They know what we do. You toss them to the fucking lions.
Yeah.
So finding and guests, they're like, I don't want to do blood sports, right? So, yeah.
There was a limited shelf life for it anyway, you're saying. So it wouldn't have mattered if you kept going with JF, even if you guys were still together today.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it ended, and he went on with his show. I think it was The Public Space.
Yeah.
But because it was still within that wheelhouse of like politics and talking to people, interviewing and stuff, he was fine.
It was initially more successful.
Yes, yeah. And for me, it was a terrible time because I didn't want to like do the politics thing as the main crux of my show. I'm not good at it, I don't think. I have some good takes here and there, but like as the host of that type of show, no. So the only viewers who would still be around would be ones interested in that topic. Mm-hmm. So even if I tried to do it, I would have been lost. I did some cool shit. That Warski was like a 2-episode, like an HBO type show. Like that was fun. I returned. I tried coming back a few times, and it was just like, nothing's working. Life was terrible at this moment. I was breaking up with my ex. Shit was dark. Mm-hmm. The drugs had taken hold of me. JF had left. It was over.
Yeah.
Like, guys, it was... You don't understand that fear of, like... I'm sure you can. Some people can. But the fear of, it's done. Like, what the fuck? So I was like, I'll do IRL. The IRL was that, okay, you know what? Fine. I'll go out there with Keemstar Donos and DuckTales playing. And I went to the States. I went to Live with Ralph at this point.
Yeah. We'll touch a little bit more on JF, and then we'll move on.
Is it cool if I grab another beer, actually?
Yeah. On the next episode of Behind the Stutter, Warski clears the last of it up with JF. We get his opinion on Blair White, Baked Alaska, and Knoxville. All this and more on the next episode of Behind the Stutter.